Hey, everybody. Good evening. This is Nate from Navigate with Nate. Glad to have you guys joining us on a special Street Epistemology live review show. I've got a few members of the Street Epistemology community here to help me go over one of my recent interviews, an interview I had with Isaac about his belief that whatever you believe about the afterlife will come true for you when you die. So I'm going to turn it over to everybody else here, and we'll just take turns. Reid, if you would like to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to recently.
Sure thing. Thanks, Nate. Yeah, I'm glad to be here for this late night SE review show. Yeah, I hope everyone is still awake at this time, at this hour. Might get some Australians early in the morning. I was just there. But speaking of what I've been doing, yeah, I was just in Australia with Peter Boghossian for about a month. Very interesting content coming soon on his channel. Been helping him out with stuff. Besides that, also working with Robert on the SE course for SEI. That's still going, but it's making progress. And trying to get back to creating my own content for my own channel, Cordial Curiosity.
Cool. Yeah, and I just saw you had a new video just come out the other day, right?
Yep, a video from 2021. I've got a little bit of
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, cool. Thanks for being here, Reid. And then Robert kind of transitions right into you. You can tell us a little bit about yourself, and then if you want to talk a little bit about that SE course that you've been working on, we'd love to hear a little bit of an update.
Hi, my name is Robert. I've been associated with Street Epistemology for quite a number of years, and most recently I've been the project manager for the Street Epistemology Course Development Project, which is the self-directed course for SE. And so it's been a multi-year project. It was never intended to be that way, but there it is. And yeah, it's turning out to be an amazing, over-the-top quality product. It's gone light years beyond what people had initially thought it would need to be. And it was not a quick and dirty thing, but it's going to be great. I think it's going to be a really a definitive a landmark piece in terms of guiding people to do SE. More people doing SE out there, and it's going to be easy.
That's very, very cool. I actually have a club. I'm a high school teacher, and I have an SE club that I help run, and I'm looking forward to being able to tell the kids about that and be like, if you want to learn more about this more than just what we do here every 3 weeks, here's this course that you can take. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
All right, cool. And then finally, Dali or Juggling Lessons. Go ahead.
I've been out of public a lot for the last 6 or 7 months. I was getting my health back together, and all things are good now. So I'm back doing SE, and I'm currently working on a course that is exactly the opposite of it. It's all about doing it really, really short, like practice things like a chess puzzle, getting to the point, not as an example of how to do it well in public, but as an example of how to get through the stick figure version of it. And this is about practicing to know what the next steps are. It's the fundamentals. It's like scales to music. And that'll be sometime later this summer.
That's cool. That I think I could probably really benefit for that, because
I think everybody can.
I can.
It's something I need. You teach what you most need to learn.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the lessons that have been the most profound for me over the last few years.
Cool. All right. Well, that's also exciting. I feel like there's a lot happening, especially just recently this past week. I feel like suddenly, maybe it's just because of the spring weather, but I've seen a whole bunch of creators getting out there, and some people getting out in, live street kind of environments for the first time. And that's really cool. I feel like there's a lot of energy around street epistemology right now. So cool.
Yep.
All right. Well, any other comments or thoughts before we get into talking about the video, and you guys can tell me all the things I did right or wrong or whatever as we watch it?
So could you set it up in terms of where you are and how did you got there?
Yeah, sure. So the last few weeks when I've had the opportunity, I've been going to the local university campus. It's not like a big major university. It's a satellite campus of one of our in-state public research institutions. And so I just kind of, it's starting to play. What happened?
Just trying to show more of the
Oh.
area while you describe it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure. Go for it. So I just kind of set up outside of like the student union where there's like a decent amount of foot traffic in kind of a comfortable place. There's like some tables out there where people can sit and hang out or study or whatever. And I just take one of those and I've got a couple of signs that I set up and advertise I'm doing YouTube interviews. And I generally just let the signs advertise for me. And I sit there and I read a book and enjoy the weather. And when I see somebody walk by, I'll try to make eye contact with them. And, but a lot of times people see it and they see the little YouTube logo on my sign and they just come running over like, oh, what are you doing? Is this for YouTube? And they get excited. And so that usually does it for me. So at least in this location, it's mostly college students, or really it's all been college students so far. I've been to a few parks too where I get other people, but this was on a campus.
You're very lucky that enormous sweet scraper or lawnmower hasn't come by and just ruined your in the middle of an amazing conversation.
Yeah, occasionally there has been like a truck or something that's going by, part of a maintenance crew, but at least the microphone I've got it goes only these ways, so I've got it set to that, so it's not too bad. But yeah. All right.
There you go.
Oh, look at that! Found my
nice
picture. Yeah,
good setup.
There's my setup. So yeah, just
Well, that packs in without a cart. Dang.
Yeah, I got it all in a backpack basically, except for the sign. I have to carry the signs. I recently made a second sign, so I got two. But yeah, it's all just on a backpack.
Pretty.
So
Very inviting.
cool. Well, thanks. All right.
I think I may have removed the video. You want me to add that back?
Yeah.
There you
Toss
go.
it in there. There we go. Okay. So let's go ahead and we'll back it up and unmute. With no color in this guy. Yep. It was weird. It was like it's like the Wizard of Oz. All right.
Go
You guys
ahead.
ready to go?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. So feel free to pause whenever. And Robert, I don't know if you have permission, so if you want to wave a hand or something when you want to speak, or just start talking. I think
Okay.
Reid and Dali have the power to pause and such. So here we go.
Hello.
There's so many different choices. I feel like they all can't be wrong.
They can't all be wrong. Why can't they all be wrong?
I think our choices now, we won't know if they'll affect us in like what happens after we die, or just death in general is very mysterious if you really think about it, because we really won't know until it happens.
Okay, so we won't know what happens to us when we die or something like that,
Yeah,
or
something kind of like that. Yeah,
something kind of like that. So like, if someone were to ask you, oh, by the way, what's your name? Sorry,
I'm Isaac.
Isaac. Sorry about that. I'm Nate.
Okay. Hi, Nate.
So nice meeting you, Isaac.
Yep.
I usually do that first. I kind of got flustered for some reason. So Isaac, how do you spell that, Isaac?
ISAAC. A lot of crazy ways to spell it.
That's the one that's most common, I think. All right. So if somebody were to ask you, what do you think happens when you die? Or do you think something happens to you when you die? How would you answer that?
You just wouldn't know, you know? I feel like it's up for debate.
Okay.
Oh, I think someone's muted.
Yeah, you're muted.
I am. Yeah, I'm kind of digging for a claim at this point, because so far his claim is just we don't know, which is like very difficult to explore. So I'm trying to get him to like, okay, what do you think, like, to give me something that we can work with at this point. I don't, because I'm not sure how to tackle. Well, we just don't know, and that's my strong belief, which I appreciate, I guess. But I don't know if that comes across weird at this point or not, but.
Because I feel like everyone has a different perspective, or it could be everyone's own perspective is what happens.
Okay. that's an interesting one. We don't know what happens when we die. When you say that everyone's own perspective is what happens, what does that mean? You think?
So like everyone's own like religious beliefs, what they believe will do good in the afterlife is what they see.
Okay,
that makes any sense.
That's interesting. Is it okay if we explore that?
Sure.
Because that's something that I've actually maybe never heard before, and that's purely my own personal interest.
Okay.
Is that something
Sure. Yeah.
that you'd like to explore a little bit? Okay, so what somebody believes about the afterlife will be what
What will happen
happened to them.
Just quickly, very, very graceful shift of claim to a deeper thing.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so like a person's belief.
It's getting windy.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there goes.
Oh
your
no, my sign. I forgot my tape today somehow. I don't know where I left it. It wasn't in my bag. I'm like, I got here and I'm like, where's my tape? I usually tape these things down. A person's belief, and that's what'll happen. Okay.
Oh, cool.
It's important. You gotta have your tape.
Let's take.
Thank you. I guess my first question for you then would be, how confident are you that this is true? Oh no, it is getting freezy. Thanks.
How confident do I am that I think it's true?
Yeah, and this could be, you could put on a scale if you want to. It could be, you could put it like out of 100 or like on a...
I would put it on like
scale.
a scale like 1 to 10. It would be like a 7.
A 7? 7 out of 10?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many different religious beliefs, different ways to view it, that maybe they're all right
Okay.
in a way. Maybe
Interesting.
the way they portray it, if they do it right by their religion, they'll go to where they say they go. Maybe there isn't just one big one. Maybe it's all separate ones for every religion
Okay, interesting.
that they see as their personal
Yeah.
afterlife.
What do you think the main reason that you believe this is?
I think
Yeah, Robert.
I think that what he's doing is he's giving you a hypothesis, right? He's saying, well, maybe this is the case, and from time to time, it's a person will explain their claim or their reasons for a claim, not in the form of a reason, but really as a form of an explanation. That they're giving you an explanation for why something is the case, as opposed to why they believe it's true. So I think that's possibly what Isaac is doing here. He's explaining in some way why is this so, as opposed to how do you know it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a subtle but important difference between coming up with a reason, which is like an argument, versus an explanation for what you think is going on.
Yeah, and I felt like throughout the conversation, it definitely felt like it might have been, or probably was, the first time that he'd really articulated what he thought about this before, like out loud to probably himself or anybody else, which I found really refreshing. Like, I appreciate the fact that he was willing to come on and talk about this, and that he was just very open and like, made himself vulnerable in that way. It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Of course, when you talk about death, my mind goes straight away to the psychological need of the denial of death. And it sounds like this is an extremely easy way to deny death. If whatever you believe happens when you die happens, then that's a super easy way to deny it. So, or just
and it's a way where nobody has to burn in hell forever either. So it's got this kind of universalism bent to it that's very appealing.
Yep. Like an optimism bias there too. Yeah.
it is the aspect of there are so many different religions, so many different standpoints of different people that not only one, I don't think one could be right. I feel like multiple could be right, or all, if not all.
If not all of them. So there are a lot of different viewpoints on this topic,
Mhm.
and people believe a lot of different things about it. And so that's the main reason you're saying that maybe all of them
Are
could
just
be
right.
true. Can you think of anything else where this would be the case, where if a lot of different people have different opinions about something, they're all right
Maybe in like language.
in language? What do you mean?
Like everyone speaks a different language, but majority of the words mean the same things.
Okay, so like kind of like they're different ways of talking about the same thing?
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So is that really like the same thing though? Like when we use different words in different languages to mean the same thing? Like if I'm going to talk about this water bottle, right? And I could use water bottle. I could talk about it in English, or I could use a different language. And there's a different language for bottle, and botella, is that bottle in Spanish? It's got two L's, so it would be botella. I didn't remember that from Spanish class.
Botella.
I don't even remember. I know some Spanish, but not that much. But is the bottle any different though, or is it still the same bottle? If I call it a bottle, or if I call it a botella, or something else.
I guess it would be the same, yeah.
Okay. So would the afterlife, as you're thinking of it, be more like the bottle, or would it be like a totally different thing?
I'm not sure.
If we're always like using a different religious belief to get there.
I'm honestly not sure. I think you got me
there. Okay. I'm not trying to get you. This isn't
no.
I
understand
though,
that. I understand.
No, but that saying you don't know is fine. Like that's okay. And honestly, I feel like I should have maybe said more than just it's fine, it's okay. Like usually if somebody says I don't know, I want to praise that more, and I'm not sure why I didn't do that. I mean, I did acknowledge that he said that, but I feel like I could have done a better job of like being like, yes, you don't know, that's fine, that's great, that's good.
So did you essentially illustrate his point or reiterate his point for him? Because the analogy would go that each of the languages would represent a different religion, and the bottle would be analogous to the afterlife that they get. And so his argument is that each of the religions point to the same afterlife, and just as each of the languages point to the same bottle. So it seems that you've illustrated his point for him.
No, I don't think that he's saying that exactly. I think his argument is that not that all religions are pointing toward one thing, but that whatever you believe will happen. So if you're a Hindu and you believe in reincarnation, you'll be reincarnated. If you're a Christian, you believe you're going to heaven with Jesus, you'll go to heaven with Jesus. If you're an atheist and you don't believe anything's going to happen when you die, you just cease to exist.
Yes.
So in his belief, it's not the same bottle. Like we have different bottles that are available. And at least that's how I understood him. And so that's why I was thinking, well, with language, we're talking about the same bottle. We just use different words. Because that was the thing he brought up as an example where we could all be right, even though we're talking about something different.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to point out that I'm not sure that analogy actually works.
Maybe
so I don't know if I came across very well or not.
Maybe the analogy can be closer to like a lot of people have different preferences for where they want to end up after they die, and a lot of people have preferences of what they like to drink. So can people just believe something is different in a bottle and make it change? And can someone just believe to end up somewhere when they die and make it actually happen? Can our thoughts change external reality just with the belief by itself?
That's really good.
Yeah.
If I want this to be Mountain Dew, will it become Mountain Dew?
Yeah. And another thing to do is kind of push the envelope of what this belief is in terms of the external parameters. Like there's, I believe in my religion, this is going to happen, but do I believe that in my religion, this is going to happen to you? And in other words, how does this belief extend to anybody in anywhere, and how is he going to know the difference between that? So are there outer limits? At what point does this belief have limits?
Yeah. And I think I do ask a question kind of along those lines at one point. So
Cool.
Yeah. Dali's a magician. Did you guys see that? It was amazing.
Yes.
And he's got like 4 microphones happening right now.
Oh yeah.
Only 2 of them are active. I brought this up to maybe demonstrate the difference between the windsock, because this adds 10 times to the improvement under wind conditions. The difference is,
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, I might want to invest in one of those.
Nice.
and they're incredibly cheap. I mean, the difference between a little troll hat on one of these things is night and day whenever it's windy, and they cost so little.
Yeah.
Because I'm just trying to make sure I fully understand how you're thinking about this. Because, like, do different religions make different claims about the afterlife? Like, is the Christian afterlife different than the Buddhist afterlife, different than the Hindu afterlife, etc.? Or
I believe it's different. Like, some people believe in, like, there is like a heaven, there's a hell, but then some people believe that reincarnation is a thing, and like what actions they do, say like eating meat, stuff like that, would affect it.
Okay.
So maybe it's like stuff like that.
All right. So, do those beliefs ever conflict with each other? Like, if you asked a Christian, what's going to happen to my Buddhist friend when he dies if he doesn't believe what I believe, would he say something different than what the Buddhist would say, you think?
I'm not sure.
Not sure? Okay. I'm just curious if they can actually all be right. I have another thought experiment that we could do. Is that okay?
Sure.
To kind of explore this idea of
Completely fine.
different people being kind of right about the same thing.
Mhm.
And you let me know if this doesn't make sense with what we're talking about, okay? So we got a box of Tic Tacs here, okay? Do you know how many are here?
Not off the top of my head.
No, I don't either, right? Similarly, I'm not really sure what happens when we die, okay? But could we agree that if we were to count these Tic Tacs, we could figure out if there is an even number or an odd number of Tic Tacs in here?
Yeah.
Okay. And does it matter what we believe about it? Like, if I believe that it's an odd number, and you believe that it's an even number, if we counted them, could we come to the same conclusion?
No, we couldn't.
We couldn't? Why not?
Because they would have to be one of them.
Yeah, but if we actually took the time
And counted them out and
counted
found
them
out.
and we found out there were, like, let's say we both counted and there were 32 Tic Tacs in here. And then maybe just to double check, we double check, we count again. And then maybe we even called in your friend who was here earlier and say, hey, could you count these for us? We just want to make sure that we're getting the number right. And he also counted there were 32. Could we say that there's an even number of Tic Tacs in the box?
Yeah.
Okay. What if somebody came up and said, I don't know how many Tic Tacs are in there, but I believe strongly that there's an odd number of Tic Tacs in there.
They could believe that because they haven't found out.
They haven't found out yet,
They haven't
right?
found out.
Okay. And similarly, we haven't found out what happens when we die yet, right?
Exactly.
Okay. But could we say maybe that there's a truth about what happens to people after they die? Like with the Tic Tacs?
Oh, like a factual.
Yeah. Is there like a factual, like, objective truth about what happens to people when they die?
Well, your body decomposes in the ground, so.
Well, I think we're pretty sure about that one. I guess, is there more than that is true, that you think was true?
I think that you're getting into the occasional sort of leading question.
This is actually the first time I've ever had the opportunity to do the Tic Tac test, and so I'm not very good at it.
This is an inverted form of the Tic Tac test. Normally, it's not done the way you've just done it there. in terms of testing various things, such as your conversation partner's understanding of objectivity versus subjectivity, that type of thing. Typically, the testability of it is something that you allow your conversation partner to come up with. That is to say, there's an odd number or an even number. How would we know? In other words, you're querying the epistemology. Whereas in this case, you came up with a test immediately, saying, "Well, let's count them immediately," and which is the way you would determine how your conversation partner is thinking about truth and objectivity and that type of thing. But so this is a kind of as I say, an inverted form of the Tic Tac test, and it's typically not used in this set of circumstances as well. In terms of what prompted you to, why did you launch into the Tic Tac test at this point in the conversation?
I think it was this idea that you can have all of these things be true at the same time, even if they conflict with each other. And so the idea was, okay, can we both have an even and an odd number in here? So that's whenever I hear somebody saying something like, "Oh, well, these are all true," and like I might have gotten a little bit ahead of myself.
Yeah.
Because I tried to ask questions like, do they make different claims? Like, is there a conflict in the claims that different religions have?
Yeah.
And he kind of just said, I don't know. And so I think maybe I need to spend more time on that. Which I think we might come back to it a little bit, but yeah, the idea that, you can like that, okay, this religion's true, but so is this religion, even though they have conflicting doctrines about the afterlife. Is that possible? And is it also possible to have conflicting answers about the Tic Tacs? And so I might have just gotten a little bit ahead of myself in the conversation. I'm not sure. Part of
the value of the Tic Tac test is that it proposes an unknown, which is the number of Tic Tacs in the box, and it uses this unknown as a way to elicit from your conversation partner what they think about truth. Because it is there in concept such a thing as an unknown truth, which is true but nonetheless unknown. And then you get into testifiability, falsifiability, that type of thing, using that as a foil for that kind of thing. So yeah, it has multiple uses. In this case, you're using it as a kind of an analogy.
Yeah. That's kind of what I was going for there. So I don't know, maybe that's inappropriate, but it's I think it kind of,
if it inspired reflection and did not violate rapport, you're within the recipe. You're allowed to mess it up enough as long as you don't mess up the result.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks.
Yeah. And I think we got a sense that he thinks of at least Tic Tacs in terms of objective truth, but does that apply to afterlives? We'll see.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Because obviously different religions have different beliefs that there's more that happens after you die, right? Do you think that those beliefs, the things they believe actually happen?
Well, if they believe it, then it would happen. But it's all like based on personal. So, like, what do those religions believe?
Yeah, well, different religions believe lots of different things, right? So some believe in like there's like a good afterlife and a bad afterlife, right? A heaven and a hell. Some believe in like reincarnation. Some religious beliefs, they don't believe there's life after death, right? Can all of those things be true at the same time?
Why couldn't they?
Well, can there be both an even and odd number of Tic Tacs in here?
No.
Okay, so how? I guess I'm not. This is probably my fault. I'm probably not understanding properly. I'm wondering, like, is there something about this belief that makes it different than the Tic Tac somehow?
Well, I feel like the Tic Tacs are like a physical,
Okay.
and then this is like more of a spiritual.
Okay.
So maybe
There it is. The metaphysics are different. In
Yes.
in the afterlife, it's magic happens. Magic can apply. So anybody can believe anything, and anything can happen, even contradictory things. So it seems like it's a category error in his mind,
Yes.
potentially.
Intangible things are magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's all just based upon that, and it's because that's a physical thing, you know.
Right.
That's such a Tic Tac. You can pick it up, you can touch it.
Right.
But this is like you can't pick it up, you can't touch it.
Yeah. That makes sense. So like spiritual things we can't like directly interact with them
Yeah.
so much. So that certainly makes it harder to know what's true.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? But does that change this idea of whether there is a truth there? Like when we die, do you think we'll discover that there is a truth or not?
We'll figure it out once we're there, though.
Okay. What if what about somebody who doesn't believe that there's like an afterlife, that their consciousness doesn't continue on after they die? What
It's
do
just
you think
over.
will happen to them? It'll just be over for them?
Maybe if that's what they believed, I would suppose so.
Okay. Does that directly conflict with what some religious beliefs, what certain religions have to say about the afterlife, though?
I would suppose so. It would, but
Because like, have you ever seen like, I don't know, if there's preachers and they're like,
Totally just cut him off there. I need to let him keep thinking.
Yes.
That was
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
You saw that. Yes.
fire and brimstone and you're going to burn in hell if you don't believe certain things, right? Are they wrong?
I feel like they would be. Yeah, I feel like they're preaching for the wrong reason.
Okay.
I feel like it's your right to like believe what you want to believe and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally agree. People, I strongly believe that people have the right to believe whatever it is they believe, and they shouldn't be. We shouldn't be trying to force people to believe what we think is right. But me personally, I just want to believe in what is true.
So what do you think is true?
Well, I tell you what. Ask me again in a little bit, and I'll answer any questions you have. But I don't want to color your perceptions based on my answers. Does that make sense?
I understand.
So we'll wrap up this conversation, and then I'll answer any questions that you have for me.
Okay.
Is that fine?
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. I'm not trying to dodge you. I just I don't want to influence you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, completely understand that.
Okay.
I'm wondering whether or not I'm just wondering whether or not Isaac is essentially claiming that my right to believe something is true, my right to declare or deem something to be true makes it true. And so when he asserts that I have the right to believe this, he's essentially saying I have sort of the authority to essentially declare it as true.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Might be similar to this principle where, like, can you see that? All sincere persons believe have equal claims to respect. I don't know if he's claiming that or not. Should everyone respect everyone else's opinions just because they believe it and they're sincere about it? Hard to know.
That's a Mott and Bailey. Yes, I should respect your expression of it. I shouldn't respect it intrinsically.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think this belief comes from a good place. Like, I think he's definitely like, he's trying to be inclusive. He's trying to respect everybody. You know, I think the belief is coming from a place of sincerely wishing the best for everybody. You know, it would be wonderful if everybody got what they wanted when they died. But is it justified is a different question.
So, I want to believe what is true. And I don't want to believe things if they're not true.
Yeah.
What do you feel similarly, or do you feel slightly different about that? Like, how important is it for you to believe in true things?
Truth in the matter of fact, or what do you mean the truth?
Yeah, things that are true and real, like things that aren't false. Does that? I don't know if that helps or not. What do you mean when you think of the word true and truth?
Okay, yeah, okay, no, hold on. I see what you're saying now. Yeah, okay, that's my bad.
No, I'm not. I really want to know. Like, I tried to give...
Like, someone telling me the truth, like, knowing what's factually correct.
Yeah, what's factually correct. Yes, like, that's what I mean by truth. So when I say I want to believe true things, I want to believe in things that are factually correct. And I don't want to believe in things that aren't true. And so that's a lot about what this whole process is about, is trying to figure out, what is true and how can we know what's true.
Not sure. I'm actually not sure.
I'm not 100% sure either. But I feel like there are certain ways maybe that we can come to truth more reliably than other ways. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm looking for is I'm looking for reliable ways to come to believe things that I can be pretty confident are true.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like this reason that, well, there are a lot of opinions about this, and so because there are so many opinions about it, maybe they're all true? Does that seem like a good reason to be at 7 out of 10 confidence, you think?
Yeah.
Think that's sufficient for that?
There's so many different choices. I feel like they all can't be wrong.
They can't all be wrong. Why can't they all be wrong?
I think it's all based on what you think, though. I feel like that's the only way to wrap this up. Honestly,
Could some of them be wrong?
Yeah, and Dali's making a lot of reactions. So I don't know, Dali, do you have some thoughts to share?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was just typing. Obvious thought terminating cliche. Oh, it's too hard. I must reassert my thesis because this is in the bucket of impractical to think about further. It's an epistemology that is just an exit strategy from the flowchart before you would get to a conclusion, because it has something red flagged and you can just flick it off the board and say, okay, I'm done because it hit one of my rules that I'm allowed to escape on. Hi. Oh, God.
Yeah, and I didn't let him. Right. Yeah.
When they do that, though, and they can see them doing that, especially if he watches back, oh my goodness, I expect a significant fraction of the time they'll ruminate on it afterwards and learn something.
Yeah. And he said something about that like that's the only way to wrap this up. And so I thought, okay, I've probably only got one more question, maybe one or two more questions, because I think at this point we've had some good reflection, and he's like, he's kind of like giving up, and I'm like, okay, all right, well, I don't want to push him too much further. So as soon as he said that, and I think he also sat back, you'll notice he's now here, whereas he was forward before. I'm like, all right, well, I think we're probably about done here. So I don't want to push him any further.
Dismount time. Yeah, exactly. This is the time you want to leave him thinking about that last motion that he just did, and then have him reconsider whether that last motion was the correct choice.
Yeah. I just also, before you get to the wrap up part of it, I think that at certain points in the conversation so far, he said, I don't know, I have no idea, and I'm not sure that is indication of reflection. I think his answers were difficult dead ends. A lot of people learning SE come up with answers like, when they get answers like that, they don't know where to go because it seems to be a dead end. And it is the reason why those answers come up that way is because of how the question is worded. In particular, that the question was a close-ended question. And so if you look at this, I mean, I've just noticed just in the last sequence, I don't know how far back this goes, but I think pretty much every one of your questions are closed questions, starting with, is this the case? Do you this? Does that? could you do this? Should you do this? What, that these are all closed-ended questions which can answer in three basic ways. Yes, that's the case. No, that's not the case. Or I don't know. He's come up with I don't know, which is kind of a thought-stopping, well, let's move on. And so it's if you could rephrase that in terms of an open-ended question, that he wouldn't have the option to say, I don't know, I have no idea. He'd have to explain what he's thinking, like, you know what I mean by these open-ended type questions, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, instead of something that can't be answered yes, no, or I don't know. Yeah.
I'll
have to think about that for a bit. I want to rewatch the whole thing now and rewrite questions. That's really good. Thanks, Robert. That's really helpful.
Yeah. Well, one way to I've noticed to do that is to ask a closing question is ending the question statement with the word right. Either ending with the word right, okay, or does that make sense? So you make a statement and you go right. There's a cat in the box, right? You're asking for agreement, but you're asking a closed-ended question which could be answered in yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
So there's an inverted form of closed questions.
Yeah. What was that? Somebody had there we go. Anthony says, "What a great moment."
We didn't want him on because we wanted Robert. Was saying, "What a moment earlier when you can laugh like that at yourself if you fumble, genuine and honest."
Yeah.
Thanks, Anthony.
Yeah.
All right. Also, was that like too much preaching about wanting reliable methods for coming to truth, or was it an appropriate amount? Or I felt like I was kind of just like telling.
What was the effect?
I would do less of that unless they ask you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that myself before because I want to help them adopt those values, and I have no idea how I could do that with just questions. But I really want them to adopt those values and at least know about them.
Right. So
I just kind of spew them out. I've done that before, so I empathize.
I've done that so fast and so bad. Links on the request.
Yes, that's what makes SE conversations hard. You always want to do that. Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's see how things play out here.
Yeah.
I guess that depends on what everyone thinks. What's wrong?
Does the truth depend on what everyone thinks?
I feel like in a religious aspect, yes.
But like
online.
But like not with the Tic Tacs?
Not with the Tic Tacs. No, we're sitting here. This is really happening.
Okay, so like if everybody, or maybe like most people, if like 90% of people said, there's an odd number of Tic Tacs in here, that wouldn't necessarily make it an odd number, right? If we count them and there were 32, but 95% of people said, no, I strongly believe there's an odd number in here. It doesn't work like that, Tic Tacs, right? But it does work for religion. Why?
I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Do you still think you're at 7 out of 10 on this claim?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Where do you think you might be now?
A little bit lower, honestly.
Okay.
Changing my mind a little bit.
That's all right. That's I think it's really important to be willing to change your mind when you think it's appropriate, but also not to change your mind just because somebody's asking you to either. All right, interesting. Okay, how'd you think that conversation went?
I don't think it was terrible.
No, not terrible.
It was interesting.
It was interesting.
Oh wow!
All right.
Yeah, I felt like as he said, no, I'm not, and then it was very like short and like I felt like I feel like maybe I damaged rapport at some point, and he just wants me to stop asking him questions, and he's like, well, this guy's asked me, so I'm just gonna give him what he wants, and so that's part of the reason I said, but not to just change your mind because somebody's asking you to, because so I don't know if you guys read that in a similar way or not, but as I was in the moment, I was like,
Yeah.
And then he says, it wasn't terrible. Like, oh, God, what did I do?
I have 3 scores for you. Your IL apparently gave you a B. That's a passing grade. You're fine.
Okay, we'll take it.
I give you for strict SE a B- for the errors, but if I ignore the errors, it's quite good, and your result was good. And Stickman gives you an A+ by those standards because you achieved your goals, and Stickman is very much a pass-fail. Did you achieve goals? Was rapport positive? A+ for Stickman grading. Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Any other thoughts? We can let him. talk
Please
more
keep
about
doing
what he
this.
thought.
This is awesome. This is
yeah.
good stuff.
Yeah.
More, please.
You found it interesting. Any questions you have for me, I'd be happy to answer now, I suppose.
Back to what do you think is true?
About this claim in particular,
Yeah.
I'm at a position in my life where I don't have a high degree of confidence in these sorts of beliefs. It's not that I think that they're necessarily mistaken or wrong. Now, some religious beliefs, I'm pretty confident that they're incorrect. They're not true. They're not factual. But for me, mostly, I don't find that the ways, like the methods that people use to arrive at these conclusions, I generally haven't found them to be very reliable. And so I don't think that they warrant like a high degree of confidence. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty agnostic about the question in general. And so I generally don't affirm any particular stance on around these questions.
Okay.
Cool.
Right.
Any other questions you have for me?
No, that's it.
About that or anything
All
like
right.
that? All right. Awesome. Well, Isaac, nice meeting you.
Nice meeting
I
you.
hope you enjoyed the conversation.
Yep, I did.
Cool. Are you interested in a conversation now?
Good.
You're all good?
Yep.
All right. Thanks. See you guys.
And then I'll watch that video later.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, my heart goes out to Isaac because he's a young man trying to determine what is true, and for him, the concept of even just the basic concept of what is true is fraught with difficulty. And he is, although open to the idea of determining things that are true, he's having great difficulty differentiating fact from opinion and truth from non-truth. So he has, but he also very open. I mean, you should have another conversation with him if you can, because he's open. He's malleable in his thinking, so it's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff.
Brian says that the IL was bored halfway in. On your review, I invite you handing me a timestamp if you, Nate, detect when you think that happened. And
Okay.
I'd like at that point a reference to the last 2 things you said before that moment.
Yeah. Was there some other distracting person or event or something going on off camera?
He had a friend who was there initially, and like they were like, seemed like they were interested in maybe both having an interview, and then my signs blew away. His friend actually helped grab the signs, and then his friend like kind of went off, skateboarded off somewhere. And then I think there might have been like some people doing something down in another area that he turned and looked at one point. I know I followed his gaze, but I don't know if there's that much going on. It was a bit windy and that sort of thing too, and so the conditions weren't ideal. But
distraction can appear as boredom.
Yeah, I never got the impression he was bored. I did get the impression that at a certain point he realized he didn't have that he needed to think about it more, which he admitted. I mean, he said, "I don't know" to a lot of questions, which was good. And I appreciated that. He didn't just he didn't make something up on the spot or something to try to sound justified.
Yeah.
But I think at a certain point he's like, yeah, I don't know why I believe this. And I probably could have wrapped it up 5 minutes earlier, honestly.
Yeah.
So
ultimately, if you break it apart, it's his premise, which wasn't really explored, and the underlying epistemology goes something like all religions are true, therefore all afterlives are true, therefore all afterlives happen. And so then if you start from that and go through from epistemic assessment, saying, why do you believe that all religions are true? It would be more heading towards an epistemic inquiry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It was when I asked him what his main reason for believing that was, the reason he gave was just that there are a lot of different opinions about it. And so I try to explore that as a reason and like identify, like, is that a good reason to think that? Because I don't think he ever said all religions are true. He just said that, because I think at one point even he admitted, like, yeah, no, some religions are wrong about some things. He said that.
Yeah. So that's why I interpret what he's saying as an explanation and not a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Interesting.
Thank you for bringing this to us. Thank you for sharing. I've learned some things, I think.
Yes.
Maybe mostly reinforcement, but good enough.
Yeah. No, thanks for all the feedback too. That's very, very helpful. The closed question thing, that's something I'm definitely going to look at. I want to go through and just, like I said, take every question I ask and see, okay, how could I rewrite this to make this a more open question?
It's an interesting exercise to be able to take a closed question and convert that into an open question. It's a useful exercise to go through because practice at converting one into the other, especially on the fly in an SE conversation, very hard to do. Takes a lot of experience, I think.
So I'm going to point at Nate, and then I'm going to generalize to the entire audience of people who would care about this. I am very happy to volunteer to be role play for if you want to try out stuff like how to ask questions and such. One of the role plays that I can easily do is someone who's so taciturn that they will choose yes or no or single word answers every time you give them the chance to. Just so that you can have that role in your mind as someone that you might be reacting to. Things like that.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes closed-ended questions are appropriate. It's not that you should never ask closed-ended questions. I mean, the confidence scale is a closed-ended question, right? So there are at certain points, for certain purposes, a closed-ended question is entirely appropriate.
Mm-hmm. So to be clear, what I'm offering is either in like public practice sessions or a one-on-one. That goes for you. It goes really for anybody on the panel. It really goes for anybody who's wanting to do SE practice. I set aside a fraction of my time for that kind of thing. Come grab me if that's helpful to you.
Cool. Great. Thanks, Dali.
That's wonderful.
That's a great offer. Okay.
Yep. Good stuff.
Any other thoughts, feedback, or anything else to share with the stream before we kind of wrap it up?
Bob 302 says, I don't think he was bored. He came to a point where when he realized he should not be 7 of 10. Well done. Stickman reinforces Bob 302.
Cool. All right. Well, appreciate you guys being here and giving me a little bit of feedback. I'm definitely going to take some of this constructive criticism to heart. I appreciate it. And hopefully get better at this. So Reid, Dali, Robert, thanks again for coming on and checking this out. And if there's nothing else, we'll close it out.
An outro. Can I just throw an outro out there? Thanks for letting us share our interest in this. Thanks from me and the team for letting us share our interest in critical thinking.
Yes. Wonderful experience. Yes, absolutely.
You're welcome. All right. Thanks, guys. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.